You didn't eat breakfast.
Had a brownie. Well, welcome to the study again. So this time we, in the middle of working on the Bronco, had to stop because we were going to go hunting like we always do in September. And we are elk hunters. And although we're not what we consider to be good elk hunters, we like to spend a lot of money and think that we know what we're doing so that we can go out and we can be successful. In the beginning of that, during the planning portion, we came across a site called Copart, and this Copart site had all kinds of auctions that were for damaged vehicles, salvaged vehicles, and then also regular certificate title vehicles that had just been put on the site because of some kind of mechanical issues or you know, whatever they put on that site. So we played around with it a little bit, looking at cars, and decided, you know what, let's just put a little bit of a deposit down, and then we'll work on seeing if there's maybe something small that we can bid on that we can see if we can win, and maybe have another auction to play with, have another car to play with, and go from there. So we put a deposit down, and we started playing on Copart. We didn't really bid on anything until we came across what we thought was a gem. It was a truck that was a classic, and I've always wanted one. I had one when I was a kid. My parents owned one, and I learned to drive with it, so I thought, you know, this would be a great way to get into the auction, and if we won it, then we would have something that would be kind of cool. It was listed as running but not driving, and of course the pictures were really good, so we decided that this would be something that we'd want to bid on. Then we found out very quickly that when you join Copart, there is not being a dealer, not having a dealer's license, there's only a small portion of the auctions that you can actually be a part of without having a broker. So now we're in the search for a broker. For those of you who have ever done this before, maybe you had better luck than we did, but it was kind of a mess for us. There's actually a list on Copart that tells you what brokers are out there that they use, and they have all of the information on how that broker operates their business and contact information and so forth. After going through most of them, we chose one. That was a disaster. We had a lot of questions for them. They would not answer our emails. When they did, they were very unprofessional from the standpoint of just like someone was answering a text. There was no formal letters or anything. After a while, I guess they got tired of us asking questions, and they just basically refunded our money and didn't say anything to us. We just noticed on our credit card statement that they had refunded the money to us, and so therefore I was assuming at that point they no longer wanted us to purchase a car with them because maybe we had too many questions. I don't know what the issue was. So we're on the hunt again. Thankfully, our second choice turned out to be awesome, and I'm going to do a video on Copart and the broker system coming up. But the broker that we found was a godsend. They were awesome. They communicated professionally. They were very fast, so forth and so on. And that's another story, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But anyway, so we go and we bid on this truck, and we win the bid, but it does not meet reserve, and so therefore the auction is over and we're done. So we're happy. We kind of broke the ice. We tried it. It didn't work out for us. We're going to go hunting and kind of forget about this for a while, and so there we are. We pack up, get in our truck, and we head out. We're out quite a ways. We go up into the wilderness area. There's very little signal up there. You can usually get signal on top of peaks and passes, but outside of that, there's not a lot of cell service. So at that point, as we're hunting, we noticed that in this new area that we're hunting, there's a lot of traffic that isn't hunting traffic. It's just regular traffic for folks out there using the wilderness area illegally. And this is where the hunt started to go wrong. And I love hunting with my wife. She's awesome. She loves everything the same that I do. She helps me work on the car. She did most of the work on the Bronco up to this point, and she was really in for this this hunt. And so we got out in this area. It's a wilderness area, and so one of the more beautiful areas we've been to in Colorado. We're away from our family during this week, but just to spend the time together and have an outdoor experience where we kind of rely on nature is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we had a hard time spotting elk and deer. They weren't responding to calls. We didn't really see a lot of fresh sign. We drove past the Boulder County open space, which is free to use and it's open for everything with the exception of hunting. And sure enough, there we saw plenty of elk. We couldn't hunt them. We're ethical hunters. We're not going to go and try to move them off that land or anything like that. So we took some pictures and we decided that that was a good first glimpse into how this hunt was going to go. That's when the shooting started. So we hunt during archery season, and the wilderness areas, although in a lot of state land areas you can shoot, right now during this time in Colorado there were burn bans, and part of that burn ban is no shooting in the national forest, no shooting in the wildlife refuges, and no shooting in the wilderness areas. So here we are, about an hour from anywhere that is what we consider to be civilized. We have a bunch of young guys out there that just are shooting just what seems to be cannons out there in the middle of the forest. Obviously this is not a great scenario for hunting, and being an hour away from really anywhere where we could complain or turn them in, we decided we were just going to fold it up for the day and leave. The next day we got up, drove past our spot that we get cell service, and thought, well, you know, if our day starts to turn out like this again, let's just look at buying or bidding on another vehicle. And I had kind of had my eye on a 2004 Audi S4 Avant wagon in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that was on Copart. But I wasn't real serious about it because it's not a classic, and I like classic cars more, although I've been wanting one of those Audis for the longest time. I had a Porsche 928 for about 10 years, and this is really close to that outside of the fact that it's a wagon. It's a high horsepower car. There's not a ton of them around, so they're kind of fun. And so I thought, you know, I'll just go and find that little cell spot and just see what happens. So we went back up there. We sat in that spot, and well, we got cell service, and that was a little bit disappointing because I knew at that point that I was probably going to end up bidding on a car, and if I did, it was going to mess up my hunt. So we decided that we were going to enter the auction, and you know, that's a pretty popular car. I didn't think we'd win the bid. So we start bidding on it, and being up as high as we were and as far away as we were, it seemed like the website was delaying a little bit on me. So I thought, okay, well, this is going to be a good reason why I'm not going to win the car, and we're not going to win it, and we're going to continue hunting, and it'll be fine. So we win the bid. So we were the highest bidder. On Copart, it tells you, you know, it's got a reserve or it needs to meet the seller's price, or it's a no sale. So at that point, we figured it was a no sale, and we're done. We leave. We go hunting again. So we're getting in a little over our heads here, and it's a little bit too long a story for one part. So we're gonna have part 2 coming up in a couple of days. Like and subscribe. We're gonna tell you whether or not we did win the Audi, if there was another purchase that we made that may have also messed up our hunt, and then we might even have 1 or 2 vehicles to show you. So tune in for part 2 in a couple of days. Like and subscribe.